streaming key. They change whatever the algorithms of it or whatever they do. I promise you, we paid the bill, so we fed the hamsters. They're all running in their little wheel, but unfortunately, we're not. Yeah, I'm hearing myself talk again. Yeah, see, every time I talk, and then about a minute later, it comes back.
Oh, yeah, you are live right now. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, now we're live. Now, all right. Now we're live. We're Oh, I know why. I know why I was hearing myself because I had it on the other channel. Anyway, so okay, so are we? Thank you, Andy. All right, so are we technically alive right now? Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's skip the introduction. No, well, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's just get right into it because it's 8 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock p.m. on a Wednesday evening, May 6th, 2020. And right now we are broadcasting live from the greatest city in the world, New York City, Staten Island, New York, and we are Model Railroaders Live, the #1 model railroading show in the world. If you didn't know that already, you do now. Anyway, who's Big Bill talking to tonight? We have a special guest on tonight. His name is Matt Forcum. Is that correct, Matt? Is that how I pronounce it last name?
It's pretty close. Forcum, yeah.
Forcum. Okay, okay, all right. I'm from New York, so usually you get a "Hey Chief, how you doing?"
Right.
You know. But this is Matt's Railroad. Matt's channel is MF Railroad, right?
That's correct. Yep.
So, and Matt has 635 or 34 subscribers. So let's see if we can change that a little bit. And you guys go out there in the community can subscribe to him because he's got some pretty interesting stuff. He's a little different than most of you guys out there who does. He does this great thing called railroad rambling. It seems to be like what's going on in the hobby, and he has a good, unique take on it. Well, thanks very much for coming on, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, sorry about the what do you call it there, the glitch, but Murphy shows up, it's like totally wackadoo.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But anyway, so Matt, how long have you been in model railroading?
I have been in since I was around 7th grade, which I don't actually know what that is, but it's about 25-ish, 30 years, right around that area there. So
you started when you were 7, like we talked about this, that you were 7 years old.
So 7th grade.
7th grade. I'm sorry.
7th grade. Yeah.
I was paying attention the other night.
I wanted a railroad earlier than that, but it wasn't until around 7th grade that I convinced my parents to let me take up a large portion of the basement in order to actually put one in there. So
you gotta, whenever I do this show, and I always ask, it's always the topic of conversation. How'd you get into model railroading? Why'd you get into model railroading? Who led you into model railroading?
Yeah.
The answer is, my grandfather or my dad or an uncle. But yours was a little done by a catalog.
Yeah, and actually, I got to thinking about it after I talked with you initially about it. So it's true that the Sears catalog led me to model railroading, but it was a little bit different than what I said. I got to thinking about it last night. I'm like, oh, actually, it was this way. So I used to have, I don't even know what they're even called anymore, but they're like slot cars.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, but like the Tyco version. So
right.
It was a little bit smaller, and it had the pre-made plastic track. I had one of those as a kid, and immediately broke it or whatever. And Sears catalog always had them in there. They had the slot car things, and then right next to that they had the trains. You could
Right.
order. You could see in the Christmas catalog, you had your slot car stuff, and then you had train stuff next to it. And train stuff was cool, but the slot cars were like race cars and stuff. So I went to the public library to find out more about these little electric slot car things, and I found a bunch of old books from, I don't know, early 60s maybe, like where people would build like the larger, like the more traditional, like what you would think of as like a slot car tracks, and then scenic them and all that. I'm like, oh, that scenery's pretty cool. But then right next to that stack of books at the library was model railroading books.
Right.
And so like as I kind of worked my way through the slot car books, here comes the model railroad book.
Right.
And then I remembered, the catalog had those model railroads right next to the slot cars. And then I got more interested in the model railroads because, the stuff that started interesting me in the slot cars was like the scenery and how they were making realistic looking trees and stuff around the track work and putting it all together on big bench work and that kind of thing. And
right.
And that's what model railroading is. So then, my interest sort of moved to model railroading from that point. So.
And how old were you at that time?
That was probably about fifth or sixth grade when I really started to kind of get interested in it. And like I said, it took about another year before I could convince my parents to let me build a 4x8 layout in the basement. We had a living room down there, so I had to kind of like take up part of that. And
of course,
my dad was not super keen on the idea of having to look around this big table in order to see his TV.
Was your dad at all into it while you were getting into it?
No, he really wasn't. I mean, he supported my creativity basically my entire life, but he wasn't much into that kind of thing. So.
Okay. Well, we got what's his name out here? What's his name? First and foremost, my good friend Frank Delorio, Frankie boy. That's for you guys out there. That's Frankie Rice Balls. Frankie, give Frank a big round of applause. After 30 some odd years with the New York City Transit Authority, he retired a couple of months ago. So I told him to tune in tonight. So that's a shout out to you, Frank. Good to every time, Matt, Frank retired. So, and he's calls me up every day. Calls me up. He wants to know if we can go to lunch. I said, we went to lunch yesterday. Well, okay, can we go to lunch again today? And I was like, that's not what you do in retirement, Frank. What? There's some people, John, have said that they're seeing this on a different channel, on a different YouTube. Okay. Right. Okay. And we also have a chat here.
Yeah, I can see the live chat here on my phone, so I can follow along a little bit too.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, John's talking to me because he's apparently not getting this live feed and live chat. He's watching it on Twitch. So if you guys want to watch, if you guys can't see it on YouTube, you can switch over to Twitch, search for Model Railroading Live, and you'll get it in the whole 9 yards. But if you're watching it now, which most of them I can see, right. Well, okay, not a problem. I'll keep an eye on this. Human City Junction wants to know. We're talking to Matt and Matt Fulcrum, and his channel is MF Railroad.
Yep, just do a quick search for that, and you can it'll pop up for you.
Right, you'll see him. That's his layout behind him. He's got an HO scale layout. We're just now talking to him. We've had some technical difficulties in the beginning of this, so we kind of started off not in our usual. Throwing the cards out there in suit order, we kind of like got it mixed up. So we kind of regrouped. Right now we're talking, this is who's Big Bill talking to. We're talking to Matt. His YouTube channel is MFRR or MF Road. You check him out. That's his YouTube channel, MFRR and MF Railroad. It's a blue logo, nice, nice logo. And he's got an
Thank you.
HO scale. He's got an HO scale layout. And as you just heard, he started looking for slot cars, and when he was in the 7th and 8th grade, and he then right next to it in the library was the model railroading catalog, and he just got into model railroading. From that point on. And then I took time out to wish Frank Riceball Delorio a happy retirement. Guy actually got a job, man. He got a job. He's working harder now than he did. He used to sit in a lounge chair for 12 hours. He's actually working. It's killing him.
Nice.
Human City Junction says, I cannot find the YT channel. Can someone post the link? Eric Hall says, hello, I have seen him before on YouTube. Yep. Dave Piper, I play with the slot cars underneath my train layout and stuff. So
nice.
Now your railroad that's behind you, now that takes up how much of a space?
So the room is about 14 feet by about 20 feet.
Nice.
And it's got a little bit of an L shape. It kind of jogs. There's a little bit of a closet that kind of jogs out in the room a little bit. And part of the staging yard goes through that closet. And then the other part of it's just for storing everything that I refuse to get rid of.
Right. I gotcha.
So, so it's I mean, it's not the biggest railroad in the world, but it's certainly big enough for me. I don't think I need anything larger than this.
And that, what is it, a double main line?
No, it's a single main line. There's a point where the Union Pacific main line kind of runs alongside the Medellin Falls main line for a little bit before they kind of diverge and away from each other in the woods. But there are two basically loops that kind of circle the room, so I can have two trains kind of running, at the same time around the room if I wanted to. One just spends about half its time in staging if I do it that way. So,
Heath of Human City Junction says the YouTube MF Railroad is 636 subs. So that means Heath just subscribed.
Nice. I got 3 new subscribers since I last checked. So awesome.
There you go. We're climbing to 1,000. There we go.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Now, your layout and your railroad it's a fictitious railroad?
That's correct. Yeah, it's a freelance railroad. I based it on it's kind of interesting. I'm basing it on a real railroad. A lot of the industries are real industries with, real names. The general rail traffic that comes in and out and the way that traffic is sort of passed through the railroad is all as prototypical as I can get. But I still really love the freelance aspect of railroading. I still really love, creating my own logo, creating my own name, and then also like taking scenic features that really exist in the real world and kind of moving them around a little bit so that I can keep them on my layout,
Right.
So there's like a bridge that is nowhere near the area that I'm modeling, but I love that bridge. I want to have it on my layout, so I'm moving it. And same thing, there's a tunnel that's like on the other end of the town that I'm modeling there. So I just move that tunnel up in front of the town so I can have that. Mm-hmm. And so by doing so, it just gives me a little bit of artistic license, and I feel comfortable making the changes that I want to make to the railroad so that it satisfies my needs, but still feels very realistic, very prototypical to what's actually there.
So basically, you just have a foundation of a real railroad that works, but you just work off it and say, okay, this is what I like, this is what I saw, and I want to incorporate it into my layout.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a little short line, so it's not a busy railroad or anything like that. So it's easy for me to it's not easy. It's something I can wrap my head around from an operational standpoint and
right.
modeling standpoint and all that. So yeah, works really good that way.
And the name of your railroad is the Medellin Falls?
Yeah, Medellin Falls Railroad, Metaline Falls Railroad. It's based
Nice.
on. There's a town called Medellin Falls that is sort of the end point for the real railroad. I'm not modeling that town on my railroad, but I decided to name it after that town because it sounded cool and
Right, I got
you
you.
know.
I know that's cool. That's good. That's what it is. It's imagination.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Your imagination. Dave BNSF N scale says did not get into trains until much later. He said driving a big orange truck, saw a B&N coal train, followed it from Colorado all the way down to Texas. Well, that's pretty.
Wow,
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool.
Oh, Eric Hall, IMRO Com. Have you ever watched that? His videos?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, he's Eric Hall is his name.
Okay.
He said that he subscribed to you months ago and he didn't get any love. So it's just like,
Sorry.
yeah, I know, I know.
If you comment on my videos, I do try to respond to everyone.
Yeah, yeah, no.
So next time leave a comment and I'll give you a little bit of love.
Clinton Pringle, hello from Costa Rica.
Nice.
Clinton, welcome to the channel, brother. Are you a model railroader? Always like to get when you get Costa Rica. Think about that, man. We international, bro. Frank DeLauro, Bill needs a tunnel too. Yeah, Frank always wants me to build a subway on my layout because it's GO time, general order time.
Yeah, that's every layout needs a tunnel. You need a bridge.
Well, I have 3 bridges, so that
makes up for
yeah,
one tunnel.
That's what it does. It does. Hello again, Clinton Pringle from Costa Rica. It's really nice of you to join us. And then in your route, oh, he says I model. Yes, I model the SP Southern Pacific. Well, good for you, brother.
Right on.
Good for you. Now the construction, from what I'm seeing from behind you, you attach that to the wall, so you have that free space underneath.
Yeah, that's really helpful for me to. I thought it was going to keep me from getting just a lot of junk in this room, like storing it under the layout. But I still have stuff that kind of creeps in here occasionally, and
it happens.
But I do love the look of like a floating, layout. Yeah. I don't like legs, so I tried as much as possible to avoid legs on my layout, and I got most of the way there. So I'm pretty happy with that.
And the construction of your layout it's 1x3s.
1x3s, yeah. It's like a simple sort of open grid kind of benchwork with a cookie cutter plywood sub row bed on top of that.
Okay.
Keeping it simple.
So now, do you put caulk on the caulk and then the track on the caulk?
Yep. Yeah. I thought about going with the homosote road bed as well, but it just seemed like a lot of work, and I've used cork my whole life and it worked well for me, so I figured continue doing it.
Right. No, that's cool. I use homosote on this my whole entire layout.
Yeah.
Because in the spectrum of doing it, it was cheaper for me to use homosote than it was to buy boxes of caulk.
Yeah.
And then lay them, sand them. This way I just cut it to size and put them together. So it works for me. But to each his own. I love caulk when it, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's now, I guess, has found us because now we're getting in a whole bunch of hello, Ralph Renzetti. Hello from Toronto, Canada. Human City Junction from New York City, Upper West Side. You go. Let's see. Indian Head Valley Railroad. Everyone's saying hello, Grandpa Rails. John, how are you? Al Mars in the house. No, Al, you're not late. We started late, so you're basically right on time. Don't worry. Crooked River and Eastern Railroad. You're not late as well. Let's see. That's basically it from that. Everybody comes in and they're like, hello. Anyway, so in doing this, let me see where my notes are because I want to make sure. So the bench work is done mostly in 1x3s, light wood, which is kind of recommended. Everybody, used to go by the 2x4s and not parking trucks on this bad boy.
Exactly. We tend to like want to like just really overdo it with our layouts anyway, right? They need to survive earthquakes and the end of the world and all that kind of thing. So everyone wants to do 2x4s. And it's heavy, and really the heaviest thing your layout is holding up is going to be like the benchwork itself. So
Right,
you know,
right.
unless you're going to be climbing all over it, and if you are, you probably designed it wrong to begin with, to be honest.
Well, yeah, right, exactly, exactly. When this was being built, the guy who helped me build it, he's a carpenter by trade, and he was like, "We have to get the 2x4s," and I was like, "No, we're going to use 1x3s."
Yeah.
He was like, "No, Bill, we got to do 2x4s," and I said, "No, Darren, 1x3s," and he goes. So we called Bill Moronic on the phone, and he says to Bill Moronic, he says, "Did you ever meet Bill Graham?" And the guy goes, "No, I never met him in person." He goes, "Well, he stands about 6'2", and he's about 265 pounds. He's a big guy. There's no way you're going to put this on 1x3." And Bill Baronic says, "We're not parking his Honda Pilot on this, Darren." But you know how strong this bench work is? This bench work is so strong that we had to go up. We had to change the lights out, and the peninsula was up, and both me and him had to get on this to get
Wow.
the ceiling. So it held us
Wow.
1x3. So that's good carpentry work. Not
Yeah.
by I did some of the carpentry, but he did all the integral stuff, and stuff. So yeah, Frank's going 265 with a question mark. All right, I'm a little bit bigger. Frank, don't you got someplace to be? Don't you got to watch some show, some model railroad show someplace else? Anyway, so now, Matt, are you on your channel now? I want to see your channel. The reason that attracted me to your channel was you do a lot of rail rambling.
Yeah.
And your channel's a little different than most guys,
Well, so I've subscribed to a lot of model railroaders on YouTube, and yeah, the one thing that I sort of felt was I'm trying. I don't want to cast aspersions on how anyone else does
No,
it. But
no, you're not. No, you're not.
There's a certain energy that model railroading has on when it comes to YouTube videos and stuff, and I felt like I could bring it like just a different energy to that, if you will. So that's just kind of the idea behind it. It's just a little bit of entertainment. Model railroading is kind of a fun thing. I wouldn't say a young guy. I'm 40 years old, but I'm young enough, and so yeah. So the whole idea behind the rail rambling thing was just I don't work on this layout like super fast like some people do. There's a couple of YouTube videos out there where channels out there where it's like they started their layouts about the same time I was, so it's like, oh great, I'll just work alongside them, and when they're building benchwork, I'm building benchwork, and when they're doing wiring, I'm doing wiring, and then like I'm still working on bench work, and they're like already running trains and doing sessions. Like I work pretty slow. So the idea behind the rail rambling thing was just whenever the mood strikes, I just pop on the camera and just talk a little something about railroading. Try to keep it light. Try to keep it about 8 minutes ish long, under 10. And occasionally have fun with it. I had my most recent one is a kind of an April Fool's joke where I made actual real ghost pepper hot fries
we saw
tried to recreate the Hot Ones episodes on YouTube, which is a real sort of famous thing they do on YouTube where celebrities will eat hot wings and talk about whatever. So that joke was mostly on me because it was way hotter than I expected it to be.
That was the one well, yeah, you were eating that, but you were coughing on that, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, I have real bad problems with acid reflux, so I didn't really think about that one.
No, I didn't think that one, because what happened was I was watching that in the dining room, and this is when the pandemic started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you were coughing, and my wife is like, "Who is that knuckle?" I said, he's eating these, like the hot wing thing on TV. Shut him off. I don't want to hear him. I said, all right, put the headphones on. Relax there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everyone for that one.
No, that was good.
I had to do something.
It's hard to come up with content sometimes because everybody else has come up with it before, long
Yeah,
before us.
yeah,
Long before us.
yeah, definitely. And at some point, you're kind of doing the same thing everyone else does. But I try to, um, I try to give factual information, like good information. Like I've seen videos where people are showing you how to lay down track, and it's like, I don't know that I would do it the way you're showing us how to do it. So I
Right.
I try to, give good information there, but try to do it in at least a little bit of an entertaining way,
Right, right,
or
exactly. Exactly right. That's the way it should be. And what I like about it is the fact of is that you don't say this is the way to do it.
yeah,
This is how I do it. If this
yeah,
is what you choose, that's fine.
yeah. Well, I don't want to come across as like an expert at anything because I'm not. I've done this a few times before. I have a system that works for me that I think works good and could work good for other people, but there's certainly like there are people far more advanced than I am,
Yeah,
and certainly know way more about modern bear. Like there's aspects of this hobby that you're not going to see me do a how-to video on model structure building because frankly I haven't done a ton of structures in the past, because either my layouts haven't gotten that far or they have gotten that far and I haven't really done a very good job with the structures I put together. And so, that's a brand new thing for me. Same thing with like weathering. I've never weathered anything before because I'm scared to put, paint on $50 models at this point. I know it'll be fine once I do it, and maybe, a couple years down the road, once I've weathered enough cars and I'm comfortable with it, then I'll start putting together some how-to videos about that. But
right.
yeah, it's a fine line. Like you want to give good information, you want to be entertaining about it, you want people to trust what you're saying to them
Same.
because they're gonna go. The last thing I want is for somebody for me to say something that's kind of like a bad thing for like maybe a beginner model railroader, right?
Right, right,
And then for them to go to try it themselves and then just get frustrated and be out a ton of money and why did I
right.
listen to this guy kind of thing. So
Blame you for their failures. Happens
yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
But Eric Hall says Matt is a little different than most guys. So
I
what
hope that's a
else?
good thing.
Yeah, I hope so too. Making them from getting them from. Oh wait. Somebody said Dave BNSNF N scale. He says I think there was a guy once upon a time. I think there was a guy once upon a time that actually finished his layout, or so I heard. You know, so
Yeah.
some people have. Franzetti, aka the Mudfather, says, Matt, according to the NMRA, you were on the beginning edge of their demographics.
Yeah, well. Do you want to talk about the NMRA tonight?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Eric Hall says to you, but you will have less problems taking your time and doing it right. Make sure you paint the sky and dirt first.
Yes. Yeah. Get the background painted before you do a lot of scenery. That's definitely very helpful.
Yeah. Human City Junction. Heath says, "Don't let facts get in the way of a good video." Uh, let's see who else. Andy Crawford. That's just a rumor, Dave. Human City Junction says, "Weathering scares me also." Uh, it's I've taken a lot of advice from Ralph Renzetti, aka the Mudfather. He does real great weathering, and he always gives practical advice on weathering. And some people say I'm heavy handed with my weathering. I make them too dark, too this. But, there's never anything that's, you just got to try it. You'll never
Yeah.
know until you do it.
Yeah, and there's ways to do, to practice weathering. You don't have to start with your really expensive cars. Get some cheap
Right,
ones that, maybe you're not so attached to, play around with it a little bit. It's just paint, it's just paint and chalk.
right,
So,
right. It's when you do it on the lesser models, the old Bachman things that you had around, and you do it and you say, "Oh, I wonder if I could replicate that."
Yeah.
Try to replicate it on the more expensive one, and you're like, oh, it didn't come out the way I thought. It came out better on the Bachman one. Why isn't it?
Yeah.
For what kind of track do you use over there?
I am using microengineering, code 83 for mainline, code 70 for sidings and yards and that kind of thing. And I've got a couple of curve turnouts. Those are the Wathers the turnouts there. And I used Atlas Flex Track in my hidden staging yard, mostly because I thought I was going to save money doing it that way. But I think that honestly, like the Atlas Flex Track is about the same price as the microengineering stuff is. So I don't think I saved any money. It goes in easier just because it's a little more flexy and it doesn't hold its shape. It's a little bit easier to sort of shape a curve in with the Atlas Flex Track, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to go in a little bit easier. So I guess I have that going for me with the hidden staging. So I got a little bit of everything, I guess.
What power is your layout?
I am using the ESU cab control system, which is it's a fairly new DCC system. I really like it a lot. I like the interface a lot on it. It's got a really nice DCC is like one of those like real mysteries to me. Like anything electrical is honestly, but DCC especially, it just seems more complicated than it really needs to be. As far as like setting up CVs or getting your lights to, like, why am I pressing F5 for lights or whatever it is? It's just weird, and it's like a weird interface.
Right.
I've never been happy with. I always found it to be very anti newbie, anti beginner in a lot of ways.
Right.
So, but the ESU system, they do, it's a tablet device. It's about the size of a phone. It's got a touch screen display. You hit the little light on the display to turn on your lights. You hit the little bell on the display to turn on your bell. Very simple. Create and consist, very simple to do as well. So I'm a big fan of that system.
Yeah, Eric Hall says DCC is just 1001.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of that with DCC for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I got out of model railroading back in the 80s, I tore down my last layout downstairs, and I had the DC system. And when I got back into it, I couldn't believe, how advanced it, because DCC was like right on the threshold of coming. Like you would read it in the model railroading magazine.
Yeah.
DCC, this is what everybody in the club was like, oh, what's this DCC thing coming? And then I came back into it, and at first it was, pretty, like how does this work? I settled on the NCE power cab system, which for me it works beautifully. So
yeah, my first DCC system was a power cab, and I think it's a great beginner system just because I think the price point is right. If you're building a smaller layout, it's all you really need for that. And there's plenty of documentation online for the NCE system. So if you're having issues, somebody out there knows.
Yeah, exactly right. And I do have to say that NCE's customer service is spot on. You can send your controller into them, and they tell you straight up front. We don't tell you when it's coming back.
Right.
It could be 6 months to a year, and then mail comes, and stuff like that. So it's it's pretty interesting. So when this railroad is, well, not that it's up and running, but when it gets to a point where you feel, are you going to be doing operations or?
Yeah, it's designed for operations. It's designed for maybe a couple of operators, at the most. It's a fairly small railroad, kind of limited in its scope, but that's perfect for me because I want to be able to run it myself. I don't want to have a huge crew in here in order just to get trains moving around. I want to be able to do something myself with it. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, operations is definitely something it's designed for. When I was younger, I wasn't so much into the operations thing. It was mostly about watching the trains run. But now that as I'm getting older and I'm learning more about how railroads run, it's something that has really taken held a lot of my interest. So my last layout was a shelf layout where it's just kind of pull it out from the staging, play around in a little 2x10 foot section with some industries, and then put it all back in staging again. But even still, that was about an hour and a half worth of time that I could spend just moving cars around, and I really enjoyed it. So
that seems to be the fun part of it.
yeah, yeah.
Have you ever looked into the OPSIG?
I have, and I don't, I can't remember if I joined up or not, honestly. When I was first designing my last layout, I got really into just taking a look at what everyone else was doing and just making sure that, what I was doing was going to, work and make sense. So I took a look at a lot of shelf style layouts, the smaller kind of, 2 by 10 foot sized layouts. And so I got with a lot of like Yahoo groups and guys that were kind of working at that level. So
the what do you call it? The OPSIG group is they do a magazine. You get it like you join for 25. You get 4 magazines out of the year, and it's very intense. The magazine. I mean, you gotta like really,
yeah.
the heck are these guys talking about? But then you get the gist of where they're going, and it's pretty informative. And the good thing is you can like write an email to some of the guys on their board. They'll basically explain some things to you. I never was. I do the card system here, and I really basically try to keep it as simple as possible. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's me. And I don't really want to get into any more than what I can handle, because I don't want another project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to do model railroading. I don't want to be the JMRI guy and have the whole computer set up and everything. And it's my choice,
Yeah, sure.
and stuff. So, but I just want to have fun. Do you find that sometimes your attention wanders off to other things than model railroading when you're involved?
That's my biggest problem, really, honestly, is like I have way too many hobbies. I'll get really going on model railroading for like 6 months, and then it's like, oh, look at this thing over here, this bright shiny thing that has nothing to do with trains, but it's calling me. So that's another reason why this layout is taking me some time, is just because, especially right now with this whole pandemic thing going on, this is my layout room and my office. So I'm here for 8 hours a day. And at the end of the day, it's like, do I want to, lay some more track, or do I want to like go upstairs and see the light, So
Right. You're having that board meeting, having the group discussion with the guys in the office over a upcoming project. They're like, "What's that behind you?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we've been there, done that with me in my life. Like, hi guys, here it is. Yeah. It's like, almost like almost like I'm not wearing pants. It's like, what is going on in Matt's camera there? I'm like, is it me? It's the trains. Yeah, that's what that is. I wish it was nice. I wish this pandemic would have hit like a year from now, where I had like a bridge and I would have my backdrop done by then. It would actually look pretty. Like my front fascia would be looking really nice right now. Gosh,
stenciled with the name of the railroad on it.
No, timing is just all wrong with this whole
thing. I know. What can you do? Drat.
So outside of model railroading, I also do summertime is RC airplanes for me. I play a lot of video games too, so there's always something kind of just trying to take my time. So
yeah, I know what you mean. Do you spend a lot of time on your videos, like production wise? Because I've seen them; they're pretty.
I try to spend as little time as possible.
Right.
I do a little bit of videoing for a living, not so much anymore, but in the past, film and video was kind of a part of my job. So I've got a lot of the equipment that I need. I don't have like the best cameras anymore, but I do have like lighting, and I have the editing software, and I have the knowledge to do it. The thing is, like, it becomes work at that point.
Yes.
So I try to find a system where I can do it in as little amount of time as possible. Because the more time I'm editing together video, the less time I'm working on a layout or or, you know, spending time with my family or doing anything else I need. So, it's a little frustrating because I know I could make the videos way better than they are if I spent the time to do them. But if I did that, then I wouldn't enjoy it. I would probably do less videos because of it. I would, you know, the whole model railroad thing would become a job at that point, and I would just be like, I'd find more excuses to go fly airplanes or go play video games.
Right.
So the rail rambling thing is great because I can you know, I can shoot it in 10 minutes. It takes me another, like I drop it on a timeline where I've got intros and outros so that takes another 10 minutes. And then, you know, it's just about rendering it and throwing it up on YouTube at that point. So like within an hour, I can get a rail rambling done. I figure that's pretty good. You know, if I can get that done in about an hour, from, you know, sitting down in front of the camera to like, just to seeing it on YouTube with 0 likes. So
Right, exactly. Eric Hall says a year from now, my layout looks close to the same as it did from around 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. But...
Wood, paint, and track. Human City Junction says the technical knowledge makes a big difference in the final product. Yes. Gain Express just joined, and he said, with whom are we talking to tonight? We are talking to Matt Forcum. He has a YouTube channel, Gaines, that's called MF Railroad. You can find him on his YouTube channel. He just gained 3 new subscribers, so he's 637, and shooting like a bullet to 1,000. So when you get a chance, go check him out. He's a little bit eclectic, a little different than most of us YouTube model railroaders out there. Doesn't focus on one particular thing, but do a gamut of different things. New Haven Rail says, I just subscribed.
Awesome. So I should probably also let people know when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I am going to give away my old DCC system, the NCE power cab system. So I'm not using it anymore, and I want to give it away. I want to give it away to somebody who doesn't have a DCC system yet. So if you're like a young model railroader and you're getting into this and you're sort of overwhelmed by the expensive things, you know, I'd like to give it to one of those guys. Or if you know somebody who is a young model railroader or somebody who's just for, you know, whatever reasons, they've been in DC all their life and they're a little afraid to jump over to DCC just for the cost of it. You know, I'd like somebody who could really use it to get it.
That's great. That's great. We were talking about that the other day, and when you said, and I said, well, you'll get 1,000 soon. And you said, yeah, well, I hope, because I don't want the system to be outdated.
Exactly. I'm gonna put together a video sort of announcing that once I get, you know, closer to 1,000, because I don't know how long it'll take to get to 1,000. It seems like a lot of people hover around the 1,000-ish for subscribers, which is kind of, for as far as hobbies go, that's a little low, but I mean, it is model railroading. It's a little bit more of a niche hobby, and the demographic is a little older, maybe a little older. So like YouTube might not be necessarily everyone's thing, you know, which I understand. Yeah. So, you know, you look at Facebook. Facebook is just, I mean, if you don't follow Facebook's the way to go. I just hate Facebook. So.
Yeah, no, I know. It's you know, the Facebook is like totally like trying to stay in step. You know, they got their YouTube is looking at them in their rearview mirror.
Yeah, well,
you know, and stuff, because they get into the live video thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Human City Junction says, I hate the new YT policy that a guy like Matt can't monetize his channel. Okay.
But like, I don't know that. I don't know that I would be getting enough, you know, subscribers, really. I mean, to really start making money, you got to have, you know, tens of thousands of subscribers. And that's just, I mean,
it's a lot of work involved in that.
And then once you start making money, then you feel like you owe people something. I used to have a podcast with a friend of mine. It was kind of a geek podcast, and we would talk movies and TV and whatever it might be. And we started a Patreon where we were like, you know, like, hey, you know, $1 a show, help us out, that kind of thing. And then like, you're like, oh, now I got people like expecting something from me because they're giving me money. So then it becomes work again. And then I'm having that same issue where it's like, oh, now this isn't fun because like I got to do it now.
Right.
This guy gave me $1.
Now I got to build that content,
Yeah.
I have to take it from mediocrity up above the curb line. And it's like, that's hard. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I liked where I was.
Yeah.
Uh, Indian Head Valley Railroad, Wilma says about the NCE giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. He says, what's wrong with poor old guys? Not you, Wilbur. If you want, you can, he's just saying that for for a young guy, you'd like to do that. But if you don't have an NCC system and you win it, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have one, then
right.
I don't care how old you are. Just
Yeah,
enjoy
right.
it.
Right. He just was looking out for the
Yeah, I'm just trying to help you out. That's
right,
all.
right. That's all. Sparky 107 just joined us. Good day, model railroaders, he says. Yeah, we're talking to Matt Forcum from MF Railroad on his YouTube channel. Get a chance, go over there and check out his channel. It's pretty good stuff. Let's see. There was a question here. Everybody, would you consider you run Naked 4? Ask, would you consider giving the DCC system to an old man who is very handsome but not near as attractive as you?
I'm not gonna
Answer that. Yeah, let's stay away from that.
Attractiveness is not a something I look for in
Yeah,
old men.
right. Let's see. Human City Junction says $50 a month buys a lot of ground covering. I guess when you're talking about,
That's true. That's true.
not all of us can be Casey Neistats.
Yeah, I mean there are guys out there that they if I can get sponsored by someone, if Scale Trains will send me all their new products, I'll be happy. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's get enough so Scale Trains gives me some product. I'll be happy.
But you know Casey Neistat, right?
Oh yeah. I don't watch his show at all, but I mean,
I don't watch. I used to watch it when he did the daily blog. I was fascinated because it was a New York City thing.
Oh, sure.
I was fascinated where he went and how he did it and the whole thing and the thing. And he hit it at the right time. I mean, he did the video. Him and his brother did the video where the battery on the iPad wasn't going to be replaced, and he did a whole thing on that. And he kind of like jump started that, and he really went off on that, and then he became the subscribers. When he went to the Oscars, when I was watching him, he's doing his daily blog. He went on Samsung's dime, and Samsung paid for everything. Trip out there, his hotel room, 5-star hotel, and plus they gave him $1 million. So,
man, yeah, I hear stories like that, and I'm like, man, I chose the wrong profession. I should have just been on YouTube way earlier than I have.
Yeah. Let's see. Sparky 107 says monetization is not that great, but anything YouTube makes me, meaning him, money-wise, I find a way to give it back to the community. Let's see. Eric Hall says it's not that much like people think, 40 to 60 a month. It's not what people think. Yeah, true. You're right. Sparky 107 says, don't fight for your channel to get monetized. You're not going to get rich from it. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Always been poor. So I have no, well, I've never had that much money. I can't see charging for this.
Yeah.
Andy Crawford says, for you on YouTube using DCC, take advantage of the current technology. Then age is not the relevant factor. It's that many, including the NMRA, are 21st century adverse, especially the NMRA.
Oh, man.
Casey Neistat is done, doesn't put hardly any videos out. Well, he moved to Los Angeles. He left New York.
I don't think you need to if you got that kind of money in your.
Nah, he sold his app business to CNN for $25 million.
Wow.
So who needs needs to do a daily blog? But again, that's something where you hit that right niche. Think about this. Model railroading has a certain amount of people,
Yeah.
a lot of older people,
Hmm.
older, over 60, myself, I'm 64, but a lot of older people who, you know, don't really get into the aspect of the new technology. You know? And I was just reading I just got Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine, and I was reading an article of a guy who has a system, a model railroading HO system, and he still uses DC.
Hmm.
Blocks, he used blocking systems. He won't, uh,
Sure.
he won't change, So it's, that's what he's happy with, and that's what he likes.
I mean, whatever makes you happy, certainly. And one of the great aspects of model railroading is there isn't a lot of change. Like, honestly, I mean, DCC's been around for, I don't know, a long while now, honestly. Um, the biggest change I've seen in model railroading in the last 20 years has been sound.
Yeah.
And that was one thing where when I got out of model railroading, there wasn't anything like that. DCC had started to kind of show up, and you see the advertisements for it in the back of the model railroader magazines or whatever. And then I went away to college and I started a family, and then I went back into the model railroad shop one day, and then I saw like these things with sound coming out of them suddenly. I was like, oh my gosh, you can do this now. And then I saw like, metal etched roof walks coming out of the factory and stuff. It's like, holy cow, I don't need to like super detail this stuff anymore. This is incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yep.
but like in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge change necessarily. I mean, I guess the advent of sound is, but like it's all still, the scales are still the same. I can take a car from 50 years ago and throw it on my layout and it still runs. May have to update the couplers, but that's really about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I was pretty fortunate when I went back to this. I went down into the basement and I took all my old rolling stock out,
Sure.
which is blue box,
Yeah.
blue box. So all I had to do was change the wheels out
Hmm.
and, certain, just a little bit of, clean up and just change the wheels from the plastic to the metal.
Yeah.
And I was ready to go,
Yeah. And that's a nice thing. I mean, with as much as technology, just improves in the rest of the world, it's kind of nice having something that you can kind of rely on to always kind of be there and always kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be
No, go
one
ahead.
reason why I was going to say that may be one reason why DCC hasn't really changed much over the years.
Yeah.
We're still kind of using the same systems that have been around for like, I don't know, 20 years or so. Those haven't changed very much.
Yeah, Eric Hall says DC is much like the DTC used on the real railroads like SP. You know,
Yeah.
Dave Piper says that if you're in it for the money, you might want to make cat videos instead of train videos. Yeah, Indian Head Valley Railroad says when the fun ends, I will disappear. This is a hobby, and YouTube just is the part of the fun. Well, the advent of videos has definitely changed the scope of how we present this hobby. I know a lot of younger people, who said, "Hey, I got into the hobby because, I was watching a video
Yeah, absolutely.
and I saw it." Whereas before, back in the day, you'd have to find a club, to be a part of, and those were if you didn't know anybody who was in the hobby, it was hard. I mean, if you went to the local hobby shop and stuff like that to meet. And there were plenty of hobby shops back in the day. I remember when I was a kid, there was a big hobby shop in Brooklyn that you could go to that did specifically. There was Train World that has always been there on McDonald Avenue. There was other one on Fifth Street and Seventh Avenue that did trains and stuff like that. It's just but this opens it up. I mean, worldwide. I mean, here we had Clinton from Costa Rica on. You know,
Yeah.
we'll get people later who will watch this and from all over the world, Australia, England, and stuff like that. So it has opened it up a little bit more to hear and see what others are doing, and
Yeah, absolutely.
right, and have them experience uh,
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah, YouTube really, when I was getting back into it, I was finding some of those videos on YouTube, and some of these people I'm seeing here in the chat room tonight were some of those early YouTube adopters, I guess, that I'd watch their videos. And And so like, and that was one of the big things that I think kind of led me to start up a YouTube channel for myself. I just had a blog for the railroad at that point in time, more of a diary for myself, just to kind of, so that I can look back on it one day and see where everything sort of began. But as I kind of got to thinking about it, I'm like, oh, YouTube has done so much for me as kind of a lone wolf in my basement who doesn't really know anyone else who enjoys model railroading like I do. Like, it's given me kind of this weird community where I'm not necessarily interacting with, the people that I watch on YouTube, but in sort of a way, like I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to know them and their thought process and their layouts. And, I'm falling in love with the layouts through these videos that they are presenting. And so I kind of wanted to give back a little bit in some weird way. So I started the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I was posting some videos occasionally on the old layout, but once I started on this layout, one thing I said to myself was like, I'm going to like really work on trying to present this layout as much as possible, the process of building it, my thought process around it, what I think about model railroading in general. And for me, like the YouTube channel is as enjoyable as the rest of it, as the building itself,
Right. Well, it is part of the hobby.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. 100%. I mean, it's, a lot of guys would build a model railroad and invite a ton of people over once a month to show them the model railroad. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my YouTube channel is,
I'm doing it daily.
Well, I don't know daily, but
well, not daily, but like once a week or every other week.
Yeah. I mean, now with this, now that I'm doing it kind of live on the live streams on Saturdays, I guess it's going to be a weekly thing, but
to interrupt you for a moment there.
Yeah.
Matt is doing a live stream on Saturdays. Unfortunately, Matt last Saturday did a live stream, and he came on the same time while there were 5 other live streams going on. Unfortunately, it was just me and Matt in the live stream.
I may have to like adjust my timing on those live streams.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
But it was good. It was good. He did electrical thing on wiring and stuff like that. And right. We have some more things on this on the YouTube thing. I disappear. Human City Junction. He says, Dave Piper, you're exactly right. Model railroading videos are not going to make you rich. Dave BNSFN scale. If you have a ton of equipment, changing over is daunting. Yes, if you're changing over with DC engines to DC, it is daunting. I have a few DC engines that I'm not changing over, but you know what the reality is? Today I was working on the layout and I had the system up and running, and I had all my diesel trains and all my engines on the layout. And so when I plugged in and fired up, they all like fired up, right?
Yeah.
And they're chugging along, and my wife is like, what that thing is so loud. She came into the shouting over the engine noise. She goes, I said, what? She goes, this is so loud, turn it down. So I the DC. I said, what? And she says, that thing is so loud. I said, that's because I got all the engines on them. They're all, so then, I break her shoes. I start hitting the horn button. And,
Yeah, for the longest time, I only had a one engine on my layout, just a little local switcher. And now I've got 5, and having 5 of them on at the same time is like, oh my gosh, I can't hear myself.
Exactly.
I can't imagine anybody having any more than 5 at any time.
Right. And then I have like 4 DC engines that I was running, and I was like, I shut everything else off and I was just running them, and I was like, this is too quiet.
Yeah.
But you go to a layout, you go to operate, there's one guy there that always constantly has to have the bell on. And you're like, all right, enough with the bell. All right, enough.
Oh, he's in the yard. He's got to run that bell.
Yeah, I know, but this is, my thing is, when I used to work for the transit system and I used to run the diesels, you have to put the bell on as you go through the station. So people know. You put it on before you come into the station so they see it. They hear the rumble. But I was one of those TA employees. I used to love to come into the station and lean on the horn. Lean on a diesel horn inside a tunnel and
Yeah.
station. People, you get people's attention. Trust me, you know. Al Moss says YouTube is great to a point, but membership is getting nuts for some channels. Sparky 107 replies, Dave. Well, he says he says at Dave Piper. He says try cooking channel. I think I could get rich quick doing that. I burn everything and smoke everywhere. I go viral till once the house burnt down. That's very true. We're here at my house, we're on a first name basis with Engine Company 37. We know the captain. Every time my wife cooks, they ride up. Hey, the captain. Hey, Mrs. Graham, how are you? Oh, it's just my wife again. Cap, don't worry about it. Let's take a look, see, make sure everything is safe. Yeah, I think that fish is done. Yep. Yeah. Let's see what questions. Video chats we have to. I'm going to start a makeup channel. A makeup channel. I think it's already been done. Grain Express. Train videos have increased the size of my magazine bathroom stack. I'm 6 months behind on my train magazines. I hear that.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I remember, the days where the first thing I would do would be read the magazine as soon as it came in the mail. And now I'm like, I'll stick it over here and we'll get to it eventually.
Right. And when I used to get the Model Railroading magazine, I used to get it, and the first thing I do is go to Tony Costa's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I go right there. I go right to the back and read his article, and then and stuff. See, Sparky 107 says, always go back and watch your first video. Sit back and remember why you did the first video and keep that reason all in your videos. Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Human City Junction, replying to Indian Head Valley Railroad, says that I hope so too, that he doesn't go away, but there's only a limited amount of time in the day. Let's see, my first video on this channel is why I got back into model railroading. It's a time problem now, Andy Crawford says. If you're just starting YouTube recently or aren't already over 1,000K or maybe 1 million, then it's too late to make money. But you can entertain others and give back to your hobby. It depends on, again, my thing with my channel is I have 890 something people. I do not make a video every week. I do not make a video every other week. I do not make a video once a month.
Yeah.
I want to make a video, I'm going to make a video. I don't want to be tied to that's not what I'm about,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
and it's not that I don't want to share. I do want to share, but I also have the MRL thing going on, and
yeah, you got a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, just think of it this way, guys. These videos that you make, they will be what's the word, in perpetuity. They will be forever.
Mm-hmm.
When we are long gone, when we are buried deep beneath the earth, these videos will be here and people will see them.
The alien architects will come down from the sky and pull up our YouTube accounts and go, well, they spent their time in their basements with tiny versions of these train things. Like, what's this all about?
Exactly. And they talked about this and they did that. And Brad Lumberg wants to know what are you working on currently on your railroad?
On the layout, I'm currently working on laying down my track work and wiring, and I'm going real slow with it. I have gone fast on past layouts and kind of come to regret it, where later on down the road you start to develop problems that, like, if I would have just gone a little bit slower, taken my time, that wouldn't have happened. So I'm probably going a little too slow on the track work, honestly. Like but it's going down smooth, and the wiring is turning out really nice, and this is a layout that I don't intend to ever take down, knock on wood. This is going to be something that it's going to be around with me for a while, so
right.
If it takes me a little bit longer to do something so that I can do it right, I'm gonna do that. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's the way to do it. That's absolutely the way to do it, is take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I have two swing bridges on my layout too, and I kind of screwed up the first one. So the second one, like I'm really careful to get that one right, and that I did that right. So now I'm going to go back and redo the first one, and redoing things is fine on a railroad. A lot of people, they don't like to redo something. They're like, oh, I did it wrong, but I'll suffer. Don't suffer if you don't have to. Go ahead and redo it.
I agree.
And do it early too, because once you start getting scenery down and backdrops painted, then it becomes an issue.
That's what happened to me. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. That's the worst, because then you just then you procrastinate on it. And eventually, no matter what happens, you're going to have to go back there.
Yeah.
Frank DeLauro wants to know, will your switches be electrified?
The frogs? Yeah. So my plan for that is I am wiring the frogs up so that if I have to, I will. But like my locomotives have capacitors in them, so like hopefully I won't have to. But so like the frog juicers, they're a little expensive. I got a lot of switches on this layout. I don't necessarily want to have to buy a frog juicer for every single one of them. So what my intention is that I'm not going to wire them up unless it becomes an issue. And if it does, I can just throw a frog juicer on there real quick and I've taken care of the problem, but hopefully with the capacitors and, these locomotives run pretty darn well these days. So hopefully that's not an issue for me.
Well, I want you to know that Frank isn't a model railroader, and he probably didn't understand that.
Oh.
Thanks, Frank, for the question.
Well, for everyone else, then that's what.
Yeah, for everyone else out there. Human City Junction says, I'm probably making videos for a different reason than most. I was in the audio video live events. The industry disappeared and I was unemployed. I'm doing it to learn new skills, and model railroading is my subject. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of why we do model railroading, is just to learn new skills. I can do things now with woodwork and soldering that I never could have done before. So
there you go. Brad Lombard, Lowbert. I hope I'm pronouncing that, Brad. Brad says, Matt, can you pan the camera around so we can see the layout?
Oh my goodness. Can I do that? Maybe. I've got it on this big pole. Oh, this is going to be kind of tricky. Let's walk with the camera a little bit, shall we? I think
I think we could do that. Look at that, Brad. You asked, you got received.
I have separate mic and separate camera. All right, so we'll kind of pan around here. This is that closet I was telling you about. And back in that closet, that's where the staging runs. And come around here. Whoop. I'm dropping stuff. You can see the far end of the layout over this way. I got stuff piled on it.
That's all right.
So it's it's a 14 by 20 room. It's not giant.
That's big enough, bro.
Big enough for me. I don't have a peninsula in the middle of the room or anything like that. I considered it, but I have to make the minimum radius a little too tight for what I wanted. So I didn't end up putting a peninsula in the center of the room. So around the walls.
That's going to be some layout, when you get a.
Hopefully it looks pretty nice.
It does look very nice. It looks very nice.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the track plan. I think that turned out pretty good. Came up with some pretty good solutions to some of my limitations as far as how staging works. Staging was the one thing, I wasn't sure how I was going to handle fitting staging into this room. I looked at double deck layouts and where the staging was below, but I couldn't figure out a way to get a grade down to staging that worked for me, especially with two doors on the other end of the room. And I didn't want to have two swing gates in front of each door, or one giant one that blocked the entire door. So I was kind of limited in that way. So I ended up putting the staging, behind the layout, and then accessible through the closet. So if I need to get to it, I kind of have to crawl underneath the layout to get to it. But I'm able to get 25-foot long staging tracks with the rest of it. And you can't see it. So it's, it works.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Andy Crawford wants to know. He says, "What are the H brackets for?"
H brackets. These angle brackets here. That's to hold it up. That's to keep it from falling down on itself.
Indian Head Valley Railroad Wilma says, "Wow, it's a lot larger than I thought."
Oh, if he's talking about the H bracket, if he's talking about that thing,
Yeah.
that's a leg. So you can actually swing the gate open there. It's got wheels on the bottom of it. It's a pretty large swing gate that's going to be scenic with an industry on it and everything. So there's a door right there. So that thing, the whole thing swings open. But I needed somewhere to support the weight because of how big and heavy it was when it was in its open position. So it's on rollers. It's got casters on the bottom of it, so it can swing open.
Yeah, Union City Junction, he says, your room is huge compared to what some, like me, have with, unfortunately. He lives in an apartment.
Yeah, I mean, I was an apartment dweller for a long time, and one of my absolute favorite layouts I ever built was a 3 foot by 6 foot end scale layout. Simple loop of track, had a little interchange on one part and a little industry on another part, but I would run trains on that thing for days. It was great. Like, it didn't take very long to build, and I could slide it into my closet. I stuck it in the back of a Mercury Capri and drove to Savannah, Georgia with it. So like there's nothing wrong with smaller layouts. Like my previous one I had before this one was 2 feet by 10 feet with a little bit of staging off to one side. So it was a little longer than that, but that thing, I spent, hundreds of hours on that one for sure. And had a lot of fun operating that as well. So nothing wrong with small layouts. I never expected to be able to build a room size layout, and I'm lucky that I get to now. So,
yeah. Ralph Franzetti wants to know, point to, or are you going to bridge the door?
So it is a point to point. Well, it operates point to point, but the swing gate that goes across the door kind of connects everything together, so I can run trains in loops, all day long, sit back with a beer. That was one thing with that 2 by 10 foot switching layout that I had. I kind of missed like just being able to watch trains, run. So I still wanted to have the ability to do like a really solid operating session, but with also the ability to bring people down in my basement, show them trains running, just sit back by myself, watch trains run, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Ralph, hold on. Brad says, nice, and thank you very much. And my last name is pronounced Lobret. Okay, I'm just going to call you Brad, if you don't mind. And I do apologize for the mashing of your last name. I really am, seriously. Very patient with me. ST70ACE fan NS says, will my Norfolk Southern Marysville line, I don't know how big it will be because it's HO scale. Ralph Renzetti wants to know, at the closet, will you put a bridge at the closet where the
that closet is going to be mostly blocked by railroad and backdrop itself. I can get down in, I can go underneath the layout to get into the closet. It's a storage closet for like all my other hobby stuff that I'm not ready to get rid of. So, it's not going to be a functional closet, but I have this door behind me here is to my wife's craft room, which is still work in progress. And then the other door on the other side of the room is the one that gets in and out of the layout room. So I have 2 swing gates. If you go if you want to see a track plan, if you're anyone out there's curious, go to mfrailroad.com, and then right on the right hand side, you'll see a link to the track plan. You can see the track plan there. I've got a video where I go over, it's like a 20-minute long video where I go over the track plan and my thoughts on why I did certain things a particular way with the track plan. So you can kind of see that.
They were talking about the H bracket that's at the closet on top of the layout.
I see what they're saying. So they're saying, they're talking about that right there.
Yes.
All right. So this is interesting. So let me get mine. That's actually it's going to stand. Let me see if I can. Sorry about this. My camera. It's actually standing. It's going to have the backdrop standing off of the right there, those 3 tracks right there are the beginning of my staging yard, which then goes into the closet back this direction. So the backdrop is going to come in front of that staging yard. And you can see them right over here too. Actually, this is a good way to show it. So so you can see you're looking down my staging yard at this point.
Okay.
And over here is layout, and then here's staging yard. And so those brackets stand the backdrop off of where the staging yard is going to be behind the layout. And you can kind of see, if you look down in there, the hole where it goes into the closet at that point.
Right.
So that's what those are for. That's to separate the backdrop from the wall and give a place for the staging yard to stay hidden.
Let's see. Sparky 107. I just can't wrap my head around hidden staging. It is something every railroad has. Why not show it? Staging yard, hump yards, etc.
Yeah. And if it was visible, certainly that's a great way to, lay down some ground foam and some ballast, and absolutely, there's no reason to necessarily hide it. For me, it was just, it's not an operational necessarily visual thing that I need to be showing. It's staging, so it represents the rest of the world and not anything that's necessarily on my layout itself. So,
right. Well, the staging yard, my staging yard is out in the open, but most staging yards are basically your railroad is part of a national railroad.
Yeah.
To see trains coming and going from a fictitious place and stuff. Frank Delorio said, I just wanted to know if the throw switches were going to be electrified.
Oh, no, those will be manually thrown.
Man, he says frogs are for pharaohs. If anybody gets the reference to the 10 Commandments, the plagues.
Sure. I had a manual switch machines on my old layout. Those, what were they called? But they're by Fast Tracks. What were they called? Anyways, they're just manually thrown switch machines under the layout on my last one, and they were a pain to get in. Ugh, I was not looking forward to doing that again. So now we're just gonna just flick the points on this one. And
finger flickers. That's
finger flickers. Yeah.
That's it. Why Run Naked 4 says, I really love the way your layout looks. I would love the way it looks even more if I end up with your DCC system. Listen, you are naked if you want that DCC system that he has. Money talks, and you know what will. Okay, so if it's visible, Andy Crawford says it's not staging; it's just storage. Amen to that. Yeah, I just said, Matt, we went really over our time. Not that it's important, but since we had technical difficulties in the beginning, we were on the roll. We just kept it moving. But I want to take this time to thank you very much for being a part of this and being on this show. And your channel is MF Railroad. And guys, go out there and subscribe to him. Go out there and subscribe to him.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been fun. I don't get a chance really to talk trains with anyone, so to be able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We like I said, we enjoyed having you on, and we definitely have you on again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rest with the layout and stuff like that. But again, guys out there listening, it's MF Railroad. Go check it out on the YouTube channel. He does good content. He puts good content out, so it's worth subscribing to. Okay, it's worth subscribing to. Please take it from me because I watched his videos, and that's what attracted me to get him on the show. So, Matt, again, thank you so very, very much for taking time out. And I know that this whole pandemic and thing has been crazy for all of us. We're open cooped in, and thank you for sharing your time. And
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Hey, for you guys, tomorrow is Thursday. You know what that means? It's Johnny's Train Talk Show. So come on down to the general store, pull up a chair, pull an ice cold soda pop out of the ice box, sit down with Johnny and the rest of the guys, and you can be part of it, just like we're right here. You got a webcam or a camera on your laptop, you could be a part of this. You can bring and brag, bring something you want to show off. If you have a situation or a problem with the model railroading and you want some help, we got plenty of guys that know a lot of stuff. If we got 6 guys in this room, we got about 8 different opinions. So you definitely can get some kind of an answer. And if somebody doesn't know, they'll find out for you and get back to you. So tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is Johnny's Train Talk Show. Make sure you come in and see that. We also have Ralph Renzetti, a.k.a. the Mudfather, and his weathering show. Don't know the dates for his upcoming shows, but he's going to be doing that. And right now, we're in the midst, part two of Railroad Empires, how we build them, ad list May 2nd, this past Saturday. If you didn't get to see it, go back and check it out on the archive on the replay. But on May 16th, we're doing part 2 with Lloyd, Tim, Andy, who's the other guy? I know that. Robin. They're going to be talking about bench work and how they made their bench work, how they built their bench work, and what went on in doing that. So it's a 10-part series. We're down 1. We got 9 to go. I would encourage you to watch it because a lot of work and effort went into making these videos and doing these and structuring them. Big shout out to those guys, Lloyd, Andy, Tim, and especially Robert Holman for taking time out of their busy schedules to put this all together. And I think you're going to love it. First one was really good. They set the stage, they set the foundation, and now they're going to get into the meat and potatoes of that. So with that said, listen, guys out there, we're just coming at the end of this. We're trying to flatline it, but most of all, you guys take care. Be safe, be well, but most of all, be blessed out there. You guys take care. God bless, and we'll see you guys on the radio. Matt, thank you so much again for being on. And Johnny, once again, brother, what you guys don't know that goes behind the scenes here is Johnny busted his butt to get this out today. He really did. Things got screwed up, but Johnny persevered and prevailed and came through. So big kudos to John for getting this out there. Thank you, John, very much. So you guys take care, and we'll see you on the radio. Bye-bye.